Firstly, welcome everyone, and thank you for taking out the time out of your day to join us for today's exciting webinar. Come change the world with us, a university overview. So my name is Denver Muirhead, and I'm thrilled to be your host. I am the overall director of strategic operations and growth at Uni Global, and it's a pleasure to have you with us. Today, we're going to be diving into the incredible world of Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute, a university that's not only rich in history, but also the driving force in innovation, research, and global impact. Whether you're here as a future student, a parent, a recruitment partner, or an academic advisor, we're confident you're going to be walking away inspired with what RPI has to offer. So, moving on, we're excited to have some special guests with us today who will take you through the details and truly showcase what RPI has to offer. So we're especially fortunate to be joined with Jaron Decker, the Director of Graduate Admissions at Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute. So Jaron brings with him over 17 years of experience at RPI. He began his journey in 2008 as a graduate admissions counselor and steadily advanced through the roles as assistant director and associate director before stepping into his current role in 2016. His deep knowledge of both the admissions process and the university itself makes him an invaluable resource, especially for anyone considering graduate study at RPI. Welcome, Jaron. It's great to have you with us.
Thank you, and hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to see all of you. I wish we were in person.
We wish that also, Jaron. Thank you for being here today. And we're also delighted to be joined by Aisha Rowe, who is the head of admissions at Uni Global. With over 8 years of experience in enrollment management, document validation, degree verification, compliance, and also building high-performing teams, Aisha plays a pivotal role in ensuring that every student's journey from application to enrollment is seamless, efficient, and student-focused. Aisha, welcome. Really great to have you on board.
Hi, everyone.
Excellent. So Aisha will be fielding questions later with Jaron in the overall Q&A section of the session. So feel free to put those in and they will be answered at the end of the session. So overall, thank you for all being here. And once again, welcome. Again, if you are just arriving, please put down where you're from and also your countries, just so we know how much of a global appeal that we do have. Before we dive in, just to make a quick note on a few housekeeping items, we strongly encourage you to ask your questions. Throughout the webinar, it's absolutely vital that we hear from you and we know exactly what it is, the information that you need in order to progress forward. So please use the overall Q&A box in your webinar interface to submit them at any time. Our speakers will do their best to answer as many as possible during the session, but also we will aim to answer them directly in the overall chat as well. So we'll aim to get through as many as possible. The session is recorded, so you'll also get a copy of that. So no need to furiously write down notes, as we'll be able to get this and grant you access to this shortly after. Okay, so with that, let's get started. So to kick things off, I'd like to introduce you to the world of Rensselaer Polytechnic Institution, or as it's known as RPI. So with RPI, it was founded in 1824 and proudly holds the distinction of being the oldest technical research university in the United States. With nearly 2 centuries of excellence, RPI is globally recognized for its groundbreaking contributions to science, engineering, and also innovation. From advancing transformative technologies to shaping global leaders, RPI remains at the forefront of tackling the world's most critical challenges. Throughout its history, RPI has been the home to pioneering minds like George Ferris, the inventor of the Ferris wheel, and Ted Hoff, co-inventor of the microprocessor. The university has consistently championed the intersection of technology, entrepreneurship, and the arts, and fosters an environment where bold ideas thrive, supported by state-of-the-art labs, entrepreneurial initiatives, and collaborative research opportunities. And with that incredible legacy in mind, let's take a closer look at the numbers. So Jaron, maybe if you could walk us through and kick things off with a little bit more of RPI's key rankings, awards, accreditations so that the team and our recruitment partners are able to find out a little bit more about the prestige of RPI?
Sure, we're relatively highly ranked in most areas, particularly in our engineering fields, but also in our areas in the School of Science, and our architecture program is also really excellent. One of the rankings that's not listed here that we're pretty proud of as well is from our Lally School of Management. We're ranked #1 by TFE Times in the MS program in Business Analytics. So that's one ranking we're proud of, in addition to the ones that are on here. I tend to shy away a little bit sometimes from rankings when I'm talking to students, though, because my advice to students is really to go where they're the best fit, where the education is the best fit for them. And I think RPI is a great fit for anyone who's really interested in any kind of a STEM field.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing those rankings, Jared, and the other information as well. I completely agree. It's about looking at the whole package of an institution. So really, really appreciate that. So in regards to the overall numbers, what really makes me wonder is kind of what's behind the overall success at RPI. So, you know, it isn't just a highly ranked institution, as you mentioned, but it also has that particular legacy, and it continues to evolve in terms of cutting edge, in terms of science and also technology. I think it would be great if you could maybe give a little bit more of an insight in regards to its history and sort of what sets it apart as a truly sort of formidable institution overall.
Yes, one of the things that I really love about RPI is that our students and our faculty are really here for one purpose, and that is to make life better for the world population. I was just reading an article today on Newsweek magazine's website, where one of our biomedical engineering professors was quoted. I don't know if you've heard, but the autism has been in the news a lot lately, with a lot of increases in children that have been diagnosed with autism. And he was quoted in Newsweek magazine because he's an expert in that area. He runs an autism research center here on our campus, and his own son actually has autism. So him and his students have done a lot of work in this area, and it's not just limited to autism. We're doing work in machine learning. We're doing work in artificial intelligence. We're the only university in the world right now who has an IBM System 1 quantum computer on our campus, and that was just installed last year. And part of that was made possible by our very, very close relationship with IBM. The chair of our board of trustees is actually a retired executive vice president from IBM. So our partnership with IBM goes back decades. So we have a long history, as Denver said. We're more than 200 years old now, and we've been doing a lot of firsts since we were founded. We were the first university to award a degree in civil engineering. We have, as Denver mentioned, we have the inventor of the Ferris wheel. We have the person who invented sunscreen came from our campus. The person who invented the video game Guitar Hero came from our campus. NVIDIA, the company NVIDIA, has been in the news a lot lately. The co-founder of NVIDIA is an RPI alum and is also currently on our board of trustees. So we have a very deep bench when it comes to successful innovators that come out of our program.
Brilliant. Thank you for that insight, Jaren. And you know, you look at legacy, you look at research strengths, you look at global reputation. It's clear what stands out on paper. I think one of the things that our recruitment partners and our colleagues would kind of like to know is, I suppose, why would prospective students choose RPI? We both know, you know, they may look at other institutions, and what they really want to find out is a little bit more about what is it that sets RPI out from the rest, and why they would choose it as a destination of study for their graduate education.
Yeah, in addition to what's on this slide, we have an incredible network of people and corporations who have come from RPI, who really are looking forward to mentor other graduates of our programs. I was just talking to a student yesterday who is graduating in a couple of weeks. She's a master's degree student in aeronautical engineering here at RPI, and she was doing an internship at Boeing, and in a couple of weeks after she graduates, she will have a full-time job at Boeing. She's moving to Los Angeles. She's very excited about that opportunity. And that's just another example of another corporation that we have very close relationships with. Is another student who I actually recruited, not for a master's degree, but for a PhD. He was offered a position at Boeing and also did internships with them. He turned them down. And he turned them down to become the chief technology officer at a startup company. And he's still the chief technology officer at that startup company, but that wasn't enough for him. So now he's the chief technology officer at another startup company. So he's working for 2 different startup companies, and he's going back to school soon. He hopes to get his MBA.
Oh, wow, that's absolutely amazing, Jaron. And I think just in terms of the career aspects of that you mentioned, I want to pick your brains on that a little bit later in the session when we come to our sort of career services. And that's a really interesting point I really want to bite into. So thank you for sharing that particular insight. Would you say there's anything else or any other main points why they would choose RPI that really stands out? I know there's a lot on the screen and there's probably a million that you could probably reference, but if I was to pinpoint you on 1 or 2, what would you say that would be?
I think one of the things that our students really enjoy is the culture here at RPI. We're a relatively small school, so we only have about 6,000 undergraduate students and about 1,200 graduate students. And when you compare RPI to a school like the University of Michigan or the University of Florida, these are giant campuses with thousands and thousands of students where you need to get on a bus to get from one part of the campus to the other. You don't have to do that at RPI. You can just walk from one end of the campus to the other. The professors know who you are. The staff knows who you are. Students know each other. So it's really it's more of a family atmosphere when you compare it to very large universities. And yet at the same time, our research facilities in some cases surpass those very large universities. We have things like the quantum computer that no other university has in the United States or even in the world. We have a clean room, which very few universities have. So it's the opportunities for students to really succeed here and in fact work to change the world are very high at RPI.
Okay. Wonderful. And Jaron, you've really picked something up there, which I actually want to go into right now. And one of those things is location. Overall. So, you know, we have, you know, hundreds of recruitment partners, there are prospective students, parents that are, you know, one of the things that they look about in terms of choosing an institution to study at is location. You know, a lot of our recruitment partners may not have been to the US, they may not have seen the campus, only on the website. So I think our audience would like to know a little bit more about sort of the campus, the lifestyle, what's involved, just so they can understand a little bit more about when they get to the US, what they're going to expect.
Yes, so RPI is located in Troy, New York, and Troy is a small city. The population is approximately 50,000. However, we're only about 9 miles from Albany, New York, which is where I happen to live. And Albany is the capital of New York State, and the population of Albany is about 100,000. And the nice thing about going to college here is that we're not the only university in the area. So you've got the University of Albany, which is a large university. It's part of the State University of New York system in Albany. We have Russell Sage College, which is right down the street. We used to have the College of St. Rose, which has closed, unfortunately, but Siena College is in the area. There are a number of different colleges in the area. And the reason that that's important is because all of these colleges have diverse student populations. And so obviously businesses want to cater to those diverse populations. So if you need to find a restaurant that has authentic Chinese food, for example, you can find that in this area. If you want to find a restaurant that has African food, you can find that in this area because it's an incredibly diverse population here. And it's also very convenient for our students to go to a place like New York City. If I were to drive to New York City, it would take me about 2.5 hours. Many of our graduate students spend weekends in New York City. They see Broadway shows. They just experience the excitement of Times Square. And if you're not into the city life, we're just minutes away from the Adirondack Mountains. A lot of our students do mountain biking. They go hiking. They swim. So there's just a tremendous amount to do in this area.
Thank you, Jaron. And in regards to these overall images, as you can see, RPI has spent millions in terms of its infrastructure, and its teaching, and just its research in regards to making sure that international students and our international recruitment partners are really demonstrating the best in practice for its international students that are looking to come to the United States and study and further their education with RPI overall. And Jaren, overall, you mentioned quite a lot about Troy, and this is something that I want to bite into a little bit more. As much as it's about the overall campus, as you mentioned, and you've mentioned a little bit about Troy, for those that are wanting to know a little bit more about the area, as you said, you know, there's that kind of city and then that more quieter area of the location. What would you think stands out for students that may want a bit of both and would like to know a little bit more about the area that you would recommend?
Yes, I will. I'm happy to answer that, but could we go back to the previous slide just for a moment?
Absolutely.
Okay, I just wanted a little bit of RPI trivia for this one. So this building on the left, the Center for Biotechnology and Interdisciplinary Studies, I just wanted to throw this out there. That was actually designed, the architect who designed that is an RPI alum. And his name is Peter Bolin. And Peter Bolin also has a firm that, I don't know if any of you have seen the Apple store on Fifth Avenue in New York City. It's kind of shaped like a cube and it goes underground. Yeah. He also designed that building. And he came from RPI. So it's here on our campus is a perfect example of what can be done by our alums because he designed one of our very own buildings.
That's true.
I just wanted to throw that out.
No, absolutely. I think our recruitment partners and myself and the team, all of that trivia and that information we would love to get. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Of course. And to answer your question, a lot of our students, when they're not in the labs and when they're not working, because a lot of them do spend a lot of time working because it's a rigorous program. But they'll do things. We have a lot of different New York State parks here in this area. In fact, there's one in the town of Waterford, which is just about 5 minutes away. So you can drive 5 minutes and you would have waterfalls and places to swim in the park. And it's really a beautiful place. Another place that a lot of our students will go to see performing arts events and things like that is called the Saratoga Performing Arts Center. It's SPAC for short. And the Saratoga Performing Arts Center, it's about 40 minutes away, maybe 30 to 40 minutes. And very big name concerts play there. And in addition to, of course, Saratoga, there's the Saratoga Raceway, which is pretty famous for horse racing. So if you're here in the summer, that's some of our students like to go there as well.
Jaren, what's your personal favorite?
I try to relax as much as I can. So when I'm at home in Albany, Albany is home to it's called Washington Park, and I have a dog that I like to walk in Washington Park. And so I just like to go to the park and watch people.
Fair enough. Amazing. So, Jaren, that sounds like a wonderful environment for prospective students, for parents, and also for our recruitment partners to know about the surrounding areas. I want to sort of change the direction a little bit in terms of the focal point, which is, you know, the study, the academics, and some of the programs that RPI offers. So as we know, RPI is renowned for its strong emphasis on sort of science, engineering, technology as well, and inclusive with the legacy, is cultivated a diverse array of programs as we're going to get into. Would you be able to provide us a little bit more of an overview of sort of the main fields of study available at RPI? Specifically, what are the key academic programs that generate the most interest? And also maybe even break down a little bit of your insights in regards to the demographics. Where do they come from? What do you find the most interest is generated from? And then are there any particular unique programs or opportunities that prospective students should be aware of when considering RPI for higher education?
Yeah, so we're most well known for our School of Engineering. About 60% of our graduate students are students in the School of Engineering. Among the programs that are offered there, I think that probably the most popular programs in that school are mechanical engineering, electrical engineering. Biomedical engineering is also quite popular. And as I mentioned earlier, we were the first university to award a degree in civil engineering. But outside of that, we have a very, very strong School of Science. And computer science is probably by far the most competitive and most popular field in that school. The Lally School of Management has a number of different specialty master's programs that are excellent. We have the MS in Business Analytics and a few others that I think we'll get into later. the School of Humanities, Arts, and Social Sciences is very interesting because I talk to a lot of students when I travel around the United States who are looking for graduate programs, and they ask me about humanities, arts, and social sciences. And we are not a traditional humanities, arts, social sciences school. So we don't have programs like English, we don't have history, we don't have philosophy. We have things like electronic arts, science and technology studies, critical game design. So all of our programs, even in the School of Humanities, Arts, and Social Sciences, are STEM focused and all looking to really change things for the betterment of society. The School of Architecture, I already touched on the fact that our alum came from the School of Architecture, designed the Apple Store in New York City, but we have many, many other opportunities in the School of Architecture as well that we'll also get into. And the program in Information Technology and Web Science is sort of computer science related, but it's I would say a more practical computer science degree for people who really just want to get into the workforce without necessarily doing a tremendous amount of research. And the students who come out of the IT program are usually very well paid.
Brilliant. Thank you, Jared. And you mentioned about getting into it. So as we can see here, these are the overall schools that you've excellently sort of explained. Looking at the overall individual programs, sort of one of the most common questions we always get is, what programs do RPI offer? So looking on this particular slide and sort of breaking down the options available by school, what would you say are the most exciting programs based on whether it's inquiries, questions you may get from your particular experience?
Yeah, so to start with the School of Architecture, the program in lighting is very unique. We have an MS in lighting, and we've changed that program starting this year. And the exciting change about that program is that every student who is admitted to the MS in lighting will have a guaranteed paid summer internship. And that can be done with one of our corporate partners, such as General Electric or Sylvania or a number of others. But if not with one of our corporate partners, we have on campus something that's called the Lighting Research Center. So the student could do an internship at the Lighting Research Center. The MArch is a program that's the Master of Architecture. So that's a unique program in the sense that it takes a little bit longer for a student to complete that program. It's a three and a half year program. That's designed for people who do not have a background in architecture, who would like to get into architecture. And that program has grown a lot this year. I think that the number of enrolling students has climbed more than doubled this year. So that's been very popular. We also have an architectural sciences program in acoustics. So if you're interested in learning about architectural acoustics, this is a great place to do that. And a lot of the labs in our Experimental Media and Performing Arts Center is where those students will do their work. I already talked a little bit about the Lally School of Management. These are excellent programs, Quantitative Finance and Risk Analytics, which is essentially a financial engineering program, Business Analytics, Supply Chain Management, and we have the MBA. And all of those students are really very well mentored by our faculty, and they go on to do a lot of great things in their careers.
Brilliant. And Jared, these particular programs at the Lally School of Management are STEM designated?
All of them are STEM designated, yes. And that's also true for the architecture programs.
Brilliant. Good to know. Thank you, Jared.
And speaking of STEM designated, all of these programs are STEM designated as well. So we actually have a few more programs in our School of Science that technically offer MS degrees, but they don't really admit many MS students, so we didn't bother to list them here. But astronomy, chemistry, computer science, geology, and mathematics and physics, these are all relatively popular programs, but by far the most popular is computer science. And it's also the most competitive, it gets the most applications, but it also gets the largest number of enrolled students. And information technology is also a program that's very actively looking for more master's students. And like I said previously, the salary potential for people coming out of the information technology program is excellent.
Perfect. Thank you, Jared. Cool. And then I suppose a large amount of interest or questions that we as recruiters and our recruitment partners get is a lot about engineering. So maybe if you could just take some time on that particular area. As you can see, there are a lot of programs. So I think, yeah, how do they sort of differ? And I suppose a question to you is, how do students or prospective students come to the decision of which option to choose from based on there being so many options?
Yeah, so you asked a little earlier about what programs are especially unique, and there are a couple of them on this slide. So, and they're also very new programs that we just recently started. So one of them is biomedical data science, and that's the Master of Engineering that we offer there, and that's part of the biomedical engineering program. The other is semiconductor technology, which is part of the electrical and computer systems department, and we developed those programs really to respond to the needs in the marketplace. So that, for example, the semiconductor technology program, there was something in the United States recently that was recently passed called the CHIPS Act. And so Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute, RPI, is really very involved in the CHIPS Act. We have a number of different chip manufacturing companies that are here in the local area. Global Foundries is one of them. And a lot of our alumni actually go to work for Global Foundry. So we developed this semiconductor technology program really to respond to the CHIPS Act and to become more active in that area. And that program is steadily growing. Some of the programs here that are on the slide that are probably we're very well known for is chemical engineering. As I mentioned before, the inventor of sunscreen came from RPI, and he came from the chemical engineering department. In fact, the chemical engineering department is named after him. Electrical engineering, we're an excellent school for electrical engineering programs. We do a lot of work in robotics and other things. As I mentioned earlier, artificial intelligence and machine learning. Mechanical engineering is a very, very popular program. Materials engineering, we have an excellent materials engineering program. It's one of the smaller engineering programs, but it's one of the most competitive to get into. For materials engineering, if you don't have a 3.5 GPA or higher, you probably won't be admitted to materials engineering because it is very, very competitive.
Perfect.
And if you'd like, oh, sorry. If you'd like, I can go on to the humanities, arts, and social sciences. Again, we're not a traditional school of humanities, arts, and social sciences, but 3 of the master's programs that we offer here are really still STEM related. And critical game design. We've always had a very, very strong undergraduate program in game design for video game design. And about 3 years ago, we developed a master's program in that area for people who maybe don't have an undergraduate degree in that area. They can still get the graduate degree in that area and get into video game design. So that's been growing very quickly. And economics is an interesting one. We had a pretty strong economics program. We discontinued it for a few years, and then we brought it back about 2 or 3 years ago, and that's getting a lot of applicants as well. The communication and rhetoric program is very, very small. You probably won't see too many applicants who are interested in that program, but it does exist.
Perfect. Thank you, Jaron. And just a quick one in regards to where you're getting your interest from. So across the world or international students, I suppose where do you get your interest from in terms of country-wise or region-wise?
Sure. Many of our applicants from the international area, international applicants, we've always gotten a lot of applicants from China and India. But recently, especially in the last, I would say 4 or 5 years, we've seen huge increases in the number of applicants from Nigeria, from Ghana, from Pakistan, from Bangladesh, and we've seen more from Turkey. We've seen really from many different countries. We don't get as many applications necessarily from Turkey, but we have a huge increase as opposed to previous years. But the countries that really stand out, I think, are Nigeria and Ghana. We've seen hundreds more applications than we have in the past.
That's amazing. Thank you, Jaron. And hopefully with our recruitment partners on board, we'll be able to help with the expansion of those particular regions.
Yes.
So with that, we've seen the range of programs, a lot of options available, a lot of STEM designated programs that we're seeing, which is really, really exciting. I think this leads us as a collective onto the next question of what does it take in order to get into RPI? What are the requirements? It's naturally quite an important thing that RPI is receiving sort of the right students, but it's also important that our recruitment partners know what RPI's expectations are and what type of documentations are required. So Jaron, maybe you could just walk us through sort of the general graduate admissions requirements at RPI. We do know that, naturally certain programs may have slightly nuanced advanced requirements, but it would be good to give a sort of a broad overview of what applicants can typically expect. And Aisha, please feel free to jump in with any insights from Uni Global, especially around sort of how we support the students from their application to the enrollment journey.
Yeah, so these are our general application requirements. We, of course, require the application itself. We have an application fee of $75. If there's a financial need from a student, we do have application fee waivers that we can offer. We require a personal statement for all of our programs. All of our programs require a resume or a CV. We require at least 2 letters of recommendation for all of our programs. It's applicants can submit more than that, but 2 is the minimum that we require. The portfolio is only required by the architecture programs. So most of our programs do not require a portfolio. We, of course, require transcripts or evidence of degree completion. And the transcripts that we require at the application stage can be unofficial. So we allow applicants to upload an unofficial transcript if they would like. We don't require official transcript at the time of application. We do require English language proficiency tests for citizens of countries where English is not the official language. And you can see what the minimum scores are there on the right-hand side of the slide. Generally speaking, at least a 3.0 GPA is required. That's on a 4-point scale. Can we admit students with less than a 3.0? Yes. Can we deny students who have a 4.0? Yes. But generally speaking, at least a 3.0 is required. But we look at each application holistically, so it's not an absolute.
And Darren, I just wanted to come in here in terms of the proof of English test that you have. So you've got, for example, 6.5 as overall score. And is there any maximum or any scores that's related to the components, like such as writing or listening within the scoring? So is it 6.5 overall, or could it be, is there any minimum requirements like a 6 in reading or a 6 in writing?
No, we don't have any minimum subscores. The total score is what we look at, and that's the only thing that we really look at. Now, it is possible that an individual department might look at subscores, but as an institution, we don't require any minimum subscore.
And also another question that I have as well, just looking at the requirements, is there some courses that require a writing sample?
There are the communication and rhetoric program may require a writing sample, but aside from that, no. The personal statement is really all that's required in that area.
And what would you say is one of the key points that should be mentioned within the personal statement?
It should be as close to perfect as possible. So what I tell when I'm out on the road talking to students, I tell them if you're not writing and rewriting your personal statement at least 8 to 10 times, it's probably not good enough. And what I also recommend for students is to always have faculty members review the personal statement before they submit it, because the reason for that is a lot of faculty members with their PhDs, they've had to write personal statements themselves, and they also review personal statements because they're on admissions committees for other students. And it shouldn't be too long. So some people like to submit personal statements that are 4 or 5 pages. That's too long. The personal statement really should be 1.5 to 2 pages, and that's really it. If it's too long, you have to keep in mind that the faculty members who are reviewing applications are reviewing hundreds of applications. They don't want to read 4 or 5 pages. They want to keep it short and simple. So that's why it needs to be as close to perfect as possible, because you have to fit a lot into a short amount of space.
And I know you said close to perfect, but if you could maybe pinpoint one thing that should be mentioned within that personal statement, what would you say it is, or it should be?
You should talk about the program you're applying to, why you're applying to it, and what you would like to do after you graduate from the program. And if you can get as specific to talking about individual faculty members whose work you're interested in, that's also a really good thing to do.
And those faculty members are listed on the website, right? So when you go into your required course, the information there, right?
Yes, all of our faculty are listed. You can go on the School of Engineering's website and you can find them by department, each faculty member who is currently at RPI.
It's really helpful. And one last question, I promise, is just regarding portfolios. So are there any specific programs that require a portfolio?
Yes, the Masters of Architecture requires a portfolio, and really that's the only one that in terms of master's degrees. There are some PhD programs that require portfolios, but in terms of master's degrees, it's really just in the School of Architecture.
Understood. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Garen. And Aisha, maybe if you could just touch on a little bit about sort of how in Uni Global reviews the documents, what checks we make, and sort of what highlights we try to emphasize on with the documentation to make sure that it's 100%, or as Garen mentioned, perfect.
Perfect. Yeah, we do thorough checks on documents. So, for instance, the personal statement, I asked the question because, you know, the team will look at the personal statement and make links to any previous qualifications or work experience, as well as a new program that they are just selecting to study, as well as any future plans. So we'd want to make sure that the right student is fit to the program that they've selected, because there could be another program that's better suited for them. So we'd want to make sure that the right checks are done and the students are applying for the correct course, as well as looking at the documents such as proof of English, making sure the student has the right levels, academic levels on the transcripts as well, the GPA. We do thorough checks within the team to ensure that the correct student is going through to RPI.
Perfect. Thank you, Aisha. Thank you, Jaren. So moving on is in terms of, we've done the programs, we've done the entry requirements. You know, the common question is, right, you know, how much does this all cost in terms of the overall tuition, fees? What does this all involve in terms of, you know, coming to RPI as a whole? So Jeremy, maybe if you could just give us a little bit of a breakdown in regards to the tuition, what's involved, and how it's all broken down.
Sure. Our tuition is it's a little bit more than $64,000 going into the next academic year. We're not an inexpensive school, but the return on that investment is very strong, and you'll be able to pay for what you've paid many times over during your career. Hopefully, after a student graduates. And these other costs with the fees and the food and housing, these are estimated costs. So we estimate that these are how much a graduate student will pay in these areas. So it's not inexpensive, but we do, and this has been very helpful for us. I think two years ago, we were given the permission by our university president to offer pretty generous merit-based tuition scholarships, and they can range anywhere. Usually, they range anywhere from 30 to 40% off of tuition. So by doing that, we've been able to enroll a number of more master's students than we have in the past, because prior to 2 years ago, we did not have any scholarship opportunities for students, and now we do, which is something that I think has really been an added bonus for the university.
And I think that's a great tool in terms of, you know, enhancing accessibility, naturally making sure that there's the right academic criteria, but, you know, scholarships are an important factor for international students and applicants who will probably have questions about that. So thank you for providing that information, Jaren. Moving on to sort of student support. So, you know, applicants, they arrive, you know, they're a little bit disorientated, they've never been in a new country. What can you tell our recruitment partners and prospective students about RPI and the support that is available to them, either before they arrive, once they arrive, to ensure that, you know, outside of the classroom, they're also being asked the right questions, they're also being checked in on, just to make sure that they're being integrated into the institution?
Yeah, so you remember I mentioned before that we're a relatively small university, and that's where this really helps. Our international support for students and scholars, that's an office on our campus that does excellent work for international students. You can imagine, with all of the changes that are happening in our current administration here in the United States, they've been very, very busy helping students navigate visa processing and what to look out for if they leave the country and come back into the country. So they've been very busy working with our international students right now. And the thing that impresses me a lot about that office is that they know each student. So so you talk about student support. We have this is just an example. We have an emergency graduate student fund. So if a graduate student has like an emergency expense that if their car breaks down, let's say, for example, and they have to pay $800 to get it fixed and it was unexpected, they can apply to get that paid for from the emergency graduate student fund. And one of the people who reviews that request is from our international support ISSS office. And it's always nice because I'm also on that committee that reviews those requests. And she always says, oh, I know this person. This is their background. I know this person. This is their background. So she knows all of these students. And that's the benefit of being such a small campus, is that we know people. And these other areas were with academic advising, and that's fairly standard. But we also have an office on campus called the Graduate Student Experience. So we have a graduate class dean who is available to all of our graduate students. If a graduate student has any kind of a personal problem, whether it's back in their home country or in this country, they can go to the graduate class dean, and that person is empowered to really use the entire network on our campus and can guide that student through whatever the problem is. And of course, we have a health center and a counseling center and all of those opportunities for students as well.
And with that support, Joe, and I want to roll that into a point where I said I would come back to, is definitely the overall sort of career development. You know, a lot of our recruitment partners or prospective students and parents, one of the questions they will probably ask is, what happens next? You know, where can I get a job? What is the potential? What is the support on campus to really enhance my professional skills in order to go out into the real world and succeed? So from your perspective, what support and what building blocks does RPI provide for prospective students or students enrolled in order to go out into the real world?
So there are a few areas where we excel in that. The Center for Career and Professional Development, they're a great office on campus that helps students, both undergraduate students and graduate students, get jobs after they graduate. And any student on campus can go to that office and get help from that. We have a huge network of employers, places like Google or now Alphabet or Meta, Boeing, General Electric. I think I heard a statistic a few years back that was there has only been one vice president for research and development at General Electric that did not come from RPI. So these are the kinds of really deep relationships that we have with major corporations. And in addition to the work that the CCPD does, we also have professional development programs outside of the CCPD. So academic departments themselves have professional development programs. Our School of Engineering has an advisory board of people in industry. The Lally School of Management has an advisory board that works with the Lally School of Management students to help them and mentor them to get jobs. So we have we do a lot of work in this area. And part of the reason that we do it is because we're a campus of innovators. And so we want those innovators to be out there innovating. And so that's why we have these relationships with these corporations, so we can get those students out and innovate on behalf of really the population of not only the United States, but the world.
Perfect. So innovation can be quite stressful. And in regards to that, what would you say students like to do for fun? You know, we've spoken a lot about inside of the classroom. What about outside of it? How do students let their hair down? What's available for them to sort of de-stress or join societies in terms of other groups that are available to them, so that it can become part of a wider group within RPI? What's available for these types of prospective students?
As this slide mentions, we have hundreds of clubs on campus that are related to a variety of different things. So if you, for example, I don't know if we have a kayaking club, but we might. So if you like going kayaking, we have a kayaking club. If you like playing lacrosse, we have a lacrosse club. And we have a club for Indian students. We have a club for African students. So it's really we have a very diverse campus. And to also help with that, we also have an Office of Multicultural Affairs, which really a lot of our students take advantage of. So you're right, it's a rigorous program, and it's a stressful program, and it's a lot of work, but in the spare time that our students have, they really do need to take advantage of these clubs, and many of them do. He was in our office just yesterday. The president of the Indian Student Association was here, and he was just here just to meet with our Dean of Graduate Education, because it's again, we're a small campus, so our Dean of Graduate Education meets with students frequently, just to talk and see how things are going. So it's a real benefit of being a small program.
Perfect. Thank you, Joe. And I think finding that balance is really important for international students. Again, the academics are vitally important, but sometimes it's definitely important to have that other side to make them feel relaxed. So thank you for answering that. And then to wrap up, I think I want to focus more on I suppose what matters, and that's for students that really feeling supported throughout their particular journey. So Jaron, maybe I could start with you in terms of sharing sort of what particular specific support is available for international students. And then Aisha, maybe if you could come in terms of a little bit more about how InUni Global supports whether it's students or our recruitment partners throughout the particular journey, maybe highlight a couple of points in terms of what you've seen with your extensive experience as well.
Sure. I think maybe the best place to start is the first point of support for international students really comes from our office, the graduate admissions office, because it's our office that issues the I-20 document to international students. So the person in my office who does that contacts every international student who confirms their intent to enroll and tells them exactly what they need to submit so that we can issue their I-20. Once all of those documents are submitted, we issue the I-20 within 24 hours. And then from that point, when they actually do enroll, that's when that student support transitions to the ISSS office and the Office of Graduate Education and the academic departments. So yes, visa support, that's our ISSS office is heavily involved in that. We have a very good orientation program, and that's where we go through, the ISSS office goes through all kinds of different things about what it's like to live in the United States. And we send emails out to international students, of course, before they actually get to the United States to get them a sense of what they're going to need. But when they get here, we talk a lot about what's available to them. And on-campus housing. So we don't have on-campus housing right now, but we have a lot of off-campus housing that's affiliated with RPI. So we have what's called an Office of Off-Campus Commons is what it's called. So we have a person who's really responsible to help all of our RPI graduate students find off-campus housing. So they have relationships with many different landlords, and so someone can go to that office and just get help with finding housing. In fact, that office is having 2 separate housing fairs, virtual housing fairs. One, I believe, is in May, and then the next one is in June for all of our incoming international students. And that's so that before they even get here, they can get help finding housing so that they don't come here and then have to find housing. They actually find their housing before they get here, and then it's a very smooth transition. And of course, we have jobs on campus. If the scholarship isn't enough, we do have jobs that are on part-time jobs on campus.
Thank you, Jaron. Aisha.
Yeah, just going to say, Jaron, in terms of the housing, does the student have to pay a deposit before traveling? How does that work? If you could give us some more information on the housing, that would be great. Just really to understand. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, that's okay. It really depends on the landlord. So some of the landlords will require a deposit and others won't. So one of the things, so we also, this is another area of support that we kind of offer that's informal, but a lot of our international students help other international students that are coming to campus. We had a webinar for Nigerian students that was done by current Nigerian students. And it was really very impressive because the current students who are here gave out their email addresses and said, if you need help from us to find housing before you get here, we'll help you. And what they said was, we'll even go to the place that you're interested in living. We'll film it. We can do a live video for you so that you can see what it looks like. And then you can move forward with, if they do require a deposit, you can pay it. If you don't think it's good enough, you'll know that. So it's really a tight-knit community, which is it's really nice to see.
Yeah, and I think from InUni's perspective, we work very closely with the recruitment teams to make sure that students post visa, even post I-20 issuance, is supported throughout the whole process. We create a pre-arrival guides that highlights all of the actions to take post-visa travel, what's the closest travel to the campus, what to do once you arrive, all of that information that we can provide to support the student and make sure that they're well informed before traveling. Even things like best days to travel. orientation, what to expect. So that's what we would do, and want to make sure the students are fully prepared before they arrive on campus.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you both for those informative answers. So, Jaren and Aisha, I want to thank you both for the detailed overview of the outstanding support available to international students. I think it's really important that we get that message across and out there to all of our recruitment partners. So we've covered a lot of information, a lot of valuable information today, from RPI's rich history and impressive rankings overall, all the way across to diverse academic programs, vibrant student life, and also comprehensive support services for international students. We hope that the session has been very, very informative and inspiring for everyone joining us. So with that being said, a common question that's going to come from our recruitment partners is what happens next? Well, in terms of our next particular procedure, if you are a particular new recruitment partner and you've never worked with InUni or any of its partners before, no problem at all. You are able to submit a request to sign up with us to become a partner of InUni and potentially recruit and work with RPI for international students. If you click on the relevant link or head to the GUS Gateway page, it will take you through the relevant steps in order to become a recruitment partner with us. Now, if you are currently a partner, you will also know this step or should be familiar with this step. You'll need to go in and log into your relevant GUS Gateway page. If you're an existing agent, go to My Account, go onto the Contract Hub, and you'll be able to add a new contract, and you will see RPI just on there, and that request will come through and will be reviewed in due course. So that option is available now. So please head over there and submit your requests. They will go to our relevant team members as well, and they will be in contact with you shortly. So thank you for doing that. Now, with that being said, we have just got a few minutes left. That means we've got just enough time for a Q&A section. So we're going to do both things. We'll have a look at a couple of questions that have been pre-populated and also have a look at the chat. And we'll fire those questions over to either Jaren or Aisha or to both in order to answer. So just looking at, I'm just going to take a moment to look at some of the current questions. One of the immediate things, Jaren, that came up was the scholarships. So I know that you touched on that very, very briefly. Maybe if you could just give an overview in terms of, I suppose, what's the scope? Are they merit-based? Are they for a particular program or for the particular regions? How does that particular aspect work? And I suppose, what is the potential of students being able to attain scholarships? As you've mentioned, it's a great help. It provides an edge. How does that particular side work?
Sure, it is a merit-based scholarship, and like I said, it usually ranges somewhere between 30 and 40% of tuition. And the way that it works is that an applicant applies for admission. They do not have to submit a separate application for a scholarship. We just have one application, and then the academic department will review the application. And if the student is admitted, the academic department will recommend a scholarship or not recommend a scholarship. So if the scholarship is recommended, the student will get the scholarship. And it's safe to say that the vast majority, and again, we've only been doing this for about 2 years, but the vast majority of our master's degree students do have some sort of a scholarship that ranges somewhere between 30 and 40% of tuition.
Perfect. Thank you, Jaren. Okay, another question that I've received here. In terms of the overall average duration for our graduate programs, what would you say they are? How are they broken down in terms of semesters and also credits on average? Or you can actually choose a few programs if that's easier to answer.
Yeah, it depends on the program. So most of our students will start in the fall semester and then they'll finish in the spring semester. For example, if you have the Master of Engineering, for example, so the Master of Engineering is a 30 credit program. It is not a research-based program. It's a practical program. So that there could be a final project associated with the Master of Engineering, but it's not a research thesis. So that program usually can be completed in 2 semesters. So the fall semester and then the spring semester. The Master of Science programs usually takes a little bit longer. That usually takes about 1.5 to 2 years because that involves a research thesis. And so it takes a little bit longer. The longest duration master's program that we have is the Master of Architecture, which takes around 3 years. And again, that's because that's designed for students who do not have an architecture background, so they're coming in new to the architecture arena. The other programs in architecture don't take that long. They only take 2 semesters, but the Master of Architecture takes 3 years. Aside from that, that's really the amount of time it takes. The programs, I should say, the programs in the Lally School of Management usually take 2 semesters or 1 year to complete. Sometimes a year and a half, but usually it can be done in 1 year.
That's really, really helpful. Thank you, Jaron. And what is the GRE or GMAT requirement?
Oh, I'm glad you asked that, because we do not require the GRE and we do not require the GMAT. Students can certainly submit a GRE score or a GMAT score, and if it's a high score, it will enhance their application. But I tell students all the time, if you don't have a high score, don't submit the test, because it can only hurt your application if you do that. So we do not require either one of those tests.
That's fantastic, Jaron. I think, yeah, you've given some vital information today, because I think that was one of the most important questions that people wanted to get across. Just looking at the time, I think I'll maybe got time for 2 more. Jaron, to the best of your knowledge, how important is it that someone has a background that is closely linked to the program that they would like to apply for?
So anyone applying to any of these master's programs, aside from that Master of Architecture that I mentioned, should have some sort of a relevant background to get admitted to the program. So for example, if you're applying to mechanical engineering, you should probably have some sort of an engineering background. Now, is it possible, like say, for example, a chemistry student wants to apply to chemical engineering? Is that possible? Yes. But the best advice that I can give to that is to talk in the personal statement a little bit about, if you're a chemistry major in undergrad and you want to get a master's degree in chemical engineering, explain how that happened, explain what's going on with that. And then that'll give the academic department some idea of what the thought process is why is the chemistry major applying to chemical engineering. So the background should be relevant, but it doesn't have to be exact.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. And I will see if there is time for one more question. Yeah, there we go. Just in regards to, naturally, we are working with international students. How do you assess different qualifications that come through to ascertain whether they do meet the right GPA level, and also equivalency as well?
Yeah, so many universities require an academic evaluation from a company like WES. We don't require that. We're fortunate enough to have someone in our office who has a background in international education, and they do in-house. We do our own GPA calculations, and we do our own degree evaluations. If there's something that's outside of that person's expertise, then we would usually recommend a WES evaluation. But I would say that 95% of our international students don't need a WES evaluation. I mean, we do all of that in-house.
Yeah, really great to know. Thank you, Jaron. I think that covers a lot of those questions that came in as well. So appreciate your answering that. Okay, so we have come up to time. I see that there are still questions pouring in, but it does look like we've covered a lot of ground and addressed a lot of the questions that have come in. So thank you for the audience for providing those questions. And Aisha and Jaron, thank you for answering those questions and providing some valuable insight as well. So as I mentioned earlier, if you weren't able to respond or get responses to all of your questions, don't worry, we will be following up with you in terms of either this chat or sending separate emails, or via your relevant representative in your region as well. So I just wanted to give a big, massive thank you out to Jaron Decker from RPI, and also Aisha Rowe from Uni Global for sharing such valuable insights. Don't forget, the session has been recorded, and you'll receive a link to the recording shortly, so you can rewatch it and also forward over any questions to your representative as and when. Feel free to share this with any colleagues who might be interested in learning more about RPI. And to stay updated on the latest news, events, and upcoming webinars from RPI, please feel free to follow us or in Uni Global as well on all of our relevant socials and WhatsApp community as well. Once again, I want to thank you again for all of your time, your questions, and your interest in RPI. We hope to connect with you again soon. Goodbye for now. Thank you very much.
Bye, everyone.
Have a good weekend.